Welcome to Connecting with the Toms podcast. I'm Julie Tom,
And I'm Dr. Tom.
and today we're going to talk about grounding. Welcome to this episode. It's all about shifting your energy, and we're excited that you're here. So, Dad, do you want to start us off? Can you tell us a little bit about what is grounding?
Grounding is as old as man has been on the earth, because as it suggests, it's about the ground. And if we go back into Chinese medicine, which has a lot of historical data back thousands of years, much farther than conventional Western medicine has been. But when you talk to people, acupuncturists or people who've studied Chinese medicine, they always talk about the energy that's in our nervous system, the energy that basically is in our head, and the fact that we no longer need to pull energy from our head, or are unable to pull that energy from our head back down into the earth. And so the Chinese have had this figured out for thousands of years. And it's only recently, probably in the last 2 or 3 decades, that it's become more, people have become more aware of it. It's become more prevalent in our society, which we'll talk about during this podcast. But the idea is that we spend way too much time in our head when people have anxiety, when they have insomnia, when they ruminate a lot on things, when they're unable to focus on things, when they have brain fog per se. Often we can relate that to the fact that they simply don't, they're not in contact with the earth enough. So this podcast will basically talk about, well, how do we reconnect to the earth?
Okay. So, how do we do that? What are the key principles? I know it's pretty simple. So, I'll chime in because it's something I've been talking about for years with my clients, but what are the first steps to grounding?
The first step to grounding is touch the earth every day. Ideally with your hands, either by gardening or touching something in nature, or being barefoot on the ground, walking on grass, walking in the park, walking on a sandy beach, somewhere that you're in direct contact with literally the earth, or something in nature, is the simplest way that we can say that's what grounding is.
Okay. Is there anything that you can't ground to that's outside?
Theoretically, they say that if you're on concrete, on bare feet, the energy tends to be blocked that way. So ideally, we're not walking on a concrete sidewalk. We're not walking on an asphalt street in bare feet. We are trying to touch the earth, but we could be walking on stones. We could be walking on the grass, obviously, that type of thing. And we'll talk a little bit historically about how this all has come about.
Okay. So, basically, anything that's man made, anything that came from the earth you can stand on, but if it's man made, then that's not necessarily going to help you connect to the earth, right?
That's certainly the easiest way of thinking about it, from the aspect of reattaching ourselves to gaining. And why are we doing this? We're doing it because the earth has an electrical charge associated with it. And as we've talked about previously, our bodies are, for all intents and purposes, just an electrical magnet. And we have many electron processes happen every instant in our body. Every process in our body is about electrons, et cetera. And so what we're trying to do is literally regenerate those electrons that historically, we could say that when we started wearing shoes and started blocking that energy through leather, that basically was not pervious to the electrons of the earth. And so if we look back at Native American cultures, which is where the more common or recent, I'll say, aspects of things. And so, of course, we are recommending people walk or watch the Earth, or the Earthing movie, grounded.com, et cetera, because it gives you some perspective and some scientific background as to, why we want people to be doing this on an everyday basis.
Right. So there is lots of research that's been supported as to why we do this, but a lot of times it's from what I found, and a lot of clients are like, can you, like, I send them to, watchtheearthingmovie.com, or you send them to that website and watch the movie. Fantastic, because they actually follow people and their process of how to remove inflammation from their bodies. So I find like that's the big reason, like, why should I ground? Well, because it's energy that if you have inflammation in your body, there could be, the dirty energy that is disrupting the function of some part of your body. So allowing yourself to, and let's get this clear too, grounding is also earthing. It's considered the same thing. But something I want to clarify too is that when in the trauma world, when I talk about grounding exercises, it's not necessarily just about touching the earth. It is touching the earth, but there's also movements that we can do to help you move the energy in your body as well. So the question I have for you is, what's the recommended amount of time that you suggest somebody grounds every day?
Like everything in nature, everything that we do, all I'll say the reasonable research that people have done, they say if you do something for 20 to 30 minutes a day, you probably are going to be ahead of the game. And so whether that's you move your body 30 minutes a day, uh, is a typical idea. You take a break, you relax 30 minutes a day. So grounding, we can, in addition to, of course, walking on the grass or on the sand and things, we now have the benefit of using grounding mats on our bed or grounding pillows or grounding sheets and that kind of thing. So we have the advantage. We can actually increase the amount of time that we're doing it, which obviously can add more potential benefit because some people won't have the access to be able to physically touch the earth and bare feet, especially half the year for people, depending on where you live. It may not be possible to touch the ground if you're covered in snow or, other types of
Well, just walk barefoot in the
disasters.
snow. That's what I do.
Well, not many
That's for a
people are.
different podcast. We'll explain
That's
why that's important. But yeah.
indeed.
So yeah, so grounding mats are fantastic. They're how do you know how can you explain how they work, or do you want me to explain how they work?
Well, they don't work any different than when your feet are when you are physically touching the ground. So, except now we have an electrical sheet, the electrical pattern, if you like, that's plugged into a grounded plug in the wall. And when we got our first grounded sheet for our bed, which was in the 1990s, not as sophisticated, we actually drilled a hole in the wall. We stuck a wire out through the wall and stuck it, then put it to a lightning rod, stuck it in the ground, and that's how we grounded in those days. But we have much better technology, and you don't have to drill holes in your bedroom wall, especially if you're on the eighth floor of an apartment. It would be pretty hard to do that.
Yeah,
So, uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So just for those of you that have never seen one, basically it's a little plug that you put in to the bottom prong on the wall. It's the bottom outlet part, and you just plug it in there. And if you're not even sure if it actually works, you can get, a grounding outlet checker, just to make sure that it is working. And yeah, so you just plug it in, then you put your mats on. So there's mats for those of you that are computer people, that sit on the computer a lot. There's actually mats to actually set your computer on, because obviously any kind of technology can emit dirty energy. So if you want to support yourself that way, you can get, the mat for your computer. You can put your feet on it. You can sleep on it. But just it's important to understand that the skin needs to touch the mat, so it doesn't go through. Like you said with shoes, you're like, so if you're someone like that sleeps with fully clothed, then something else that you may want to consider is a pillowcase. And that's what I did, because like you have your arms and whatnot, but having your head exposed to the grounding mat certainly helps with clearing the inflammation in your head. And I've been using it for years now, and I highly recommend it to everybody. If there's any kind of mat out there now. So like you said, technology has come a long way. So yeah, so you said 20 to 30 minutes a day. Anything else that we need to know about earthing or grounding?
That it's simple. And in fact, anytime something is simple, people often question that it could be as effective as we're purporting it and recommending that it is. But the historical fact, if you think back to literally to the time of cavemen, you know, they slept on the ground. And it's the aspects that, when, we actually stopped touching the earth so much is when we started to see many changes, along with other reasons, of course. But it's one of the simplest things that everybody theoretically can do, once again, depending where you live and the time of year, et cetera. But because we now have technology available to us, wherever it is that you live, whether it be on the penthouse of an apartment or, in a home, and you have a lawn or an outside ground, you can actually touch the grass. But we have the ability that nobody really has an excuse, we'll say, to not have in their presence some form of a grounding, whether it's something that you put your feet on, something that you lie on, something you put your head on, something that you do on a regular basis. It's there's sort of, we'll say, there's no excuse for it. And since you're going to be doing that anyway during the day, you might as well add some health benefits to whatever it is that you're doing by adding this component of grounding.
Right. So that's the big thing. Like a lot of times it's like, okay, if I'm going to spend 20, 30 minutes, what's the benefit that I'm going to get out of it? Because sometimes people will do it and they really won't feel much different. And some people, there is a big change. So one question I have, I don't think we've covered is it better at a certain time of day? So for instance, like for circadian rhythm, Chinese body clock, getting out within the first 30 minutes of waking. So to get the eyes, sunlight in your eyes, um, helps set the circadian rhythm. So is there a better time of day to ground, would you say?
I think if the reality is, I always say for things like that is do it whenever you have the opportunity to do it. So is there a preferred time? And if we look at the preferred time of doing it, if we look at historical again, long with, going back centuries, where did people sleep? They slept on the ground. And so when was the most opportune time for Mother Nature was when you were sleeping, when you were lying down. So you had more contact, we'll say, with the earth itself. So if we look at the evolution of our, our metabolic systems, of our endocrine systems, et cetera, they basically have evolved with the idea that we were being grounded, but that our electrons were being recharged during the night when we were sleeping. So I think it's the ideal time, although we're not recommending that people get up at 2 in the morning and go outside to walk on the grass because now it's a lot easier to ground when you're at night. But you get the benefit of course, doing it during the day at other times because, you can say, if my laptop computer is winding down and I need to plug it in to recharge it, we don't wait until the battery is totally dead to say, oh yeah, I guess I should plug it in.
Right, exactly. And I think that's, I mean, there's a lot to reason, like a lot of people like camping and whatnot. And I mean, yes, there's glamping and there's all these other things, but I think there's something that a lot of people love about camping is that connection to nature and that connection, you might be sleeping on a air mattress, but the fact that you're spending time in nature, which for me brings up the question is, so is grounding or earthing the same thing as forest bathing?
Forest bathing and forest walking or walking, in the forest after a thunderstorm and that tremendous smell of the clean air, is the idea that there's an energy associated with trees. There's an energy associated with Mother Nature, basically. And so, when we pick up the energy from Mother Nature, whether we're literally touching the earth itself or walking in the presence of Mother Nature in a forest, we are definitely going to be rejuvenating our electrical charge. And that's really the purpose of however you do it, how often you do it, how frequent you do it. It's totally based on your individual circumstance, but the more often it's done, the better it is.
Right. So essentially, what are the main, can you tell me like what are the main health benefits of me spending time? So like I actually read a research paper that supported that. So let's say I live in the city, I live in a condo, I don't have earthing mats. But if I go for a walk, or sorry, if I take a 2 hour hike in nature, I'm actually able to reset my entire body and give me enough energy for the next 2 weeks. So they did this research study and they followed people that did that. They'd go for a 2 hour hike every week or on the weekend. and that would charge them enough for 2 weeks actually. So if they did it like every 2 weeks, then it'd be essentially the same energy as doing it every day. But that being said, what would be the health benefit of someone? Why should somebody start doing this?
I think one of the aspects of when we think about grounding is to look at the health of society in general. And while we can look back historically over all the years, and every the Western world has taken pride in the fact that every year for the last 50 years, the so-called life expectancy of people have increased, with the idea being that it's the improvements in healthcare, more preventive care, etc. However, they've had to slash that opinion because it's actually not true for the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, our life expectancy has decreased, and in the last year alone, it's decreased 2.6 years, which was just published. And of course, they say, well, that was about COVID and a whole bunch of other reasons. However, it's an accumulative thing. It started before COVID actually came into the world. So what we've been seeing is that we live, unfortunately, healthier and a healthier unhealthy environment in general for many people. And so and we've lost the ability to rejuvenate our tissues. We One of the things that people have the most difficulty doing is because they're so busy in their lives is literally having fun. People have lost the ability to play. They've lost the ability to have fun. They think if they're not using alcohol or some kind of a medication or a prescription or non-prescription medication, somehow that's what's affording them the opportunity to escape their so-called everyday life. So we've lost the opportunity to truly reconnect ourselves to Mother Earth, to Mother Nature. And so the real benefit is that every one of your organ systems will work better. You'll sleep better. You'll digest better. Your endocrine system will work better. You'll have more energy to do whatever it is that you wish to do. Your cardiovascular system will work better. Your kidneys will work better. Your musculoskeletal system will work better. Everything works better when we do it properly.
You're right. Everything's gonna work better. It's all good. Yeah. So basically, for me, like it's all about all the systems are a go. It's gonna support every system. So it's one of those things that everything I've said it before. Everything is connected. So when you connect to Mother Earth, like the main energy source, um, it just basically puts you back online. It gives you that recharge, right? So I do have some friends that are big on moon energy, and the moon just shifted yesterday, I think it was. And so, some people feel there's an energy shift when the moon is, in retrograde or whatever. But there's something powerful with, the sun's energy, the earth's energy, the moon energy. There's something to be said about, we are essentially humans that are made of energy. And so if you want to, if you're struggling with pain or, inflammation of some sort, and some part of your body is not functioning the way you want it to, connecting to a better energy source is definitely a great place to start. Like add that to, and then you start layering it with castor oil and drinking your water and all the things that we're going to talk to you about. It's just like that longevity that you've been talking about, that it's unfortunate that, people, longevity is getting decreasing. But it's true. We all get stuck in this cog and we don't know because we aren't able to manage our stress. So for, like another reason that I would say is like, why should you ground? Well, it helps you recharge and helps you manage your stress a little bit better. Even if it's like, if you decide to just walk in the grass or, roll downhill in the grass, like in shorts and t-shirt, be a kid again. Like, do you like, when I just said that, it's like you smiled and, there's a memory that popped up, and those are those things that we want to come back to. And that's really what it's about, is just helping you reconnect to that fun part of us and that carefree and, good parts. Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
The No, I think it's a function of the as the proverbial the proof in the pudding is eating the pudding. So the proof of the pudding, the grounding will help you is to actually do it.
Right.
And one of the challenges that people have when they start to include these types of very simple, everyday, they've been here forever types of recommendations, they are expecting instant success. Well, it's not about instant success. It's not about you walk in the grass for 30 minutes and suddenly you're going to be feel like a new person. It's the type of thing that happens over a period of time. And our goal with these podcasts and the goal with this particular topic is to say, well, don't do it once and think that it's supposed to provide some miracle answer. The goal is to make it part of your life. It's something that you don't think about, something they say, oh, I'm going to go and do grounding today. You mean the whole idea of all these is not to have to think about it. You do it because it's part of what it is that you do in order to feel the best that you possibly can feel. So the same would be with this particular topic. It's a function of however you go out, however you touch the earth, whether it's through a grounded pillowcase or one for your computer or one that you put your feet on or one that you sit on or one that you lie on, something that you're going to do every day. And hopefully, if it's not walking bare feet because it's wintertime, it still doesn't mean that you can't be out in the forest. And even if the forest doesn't have any leaves on the trees because it's the middle of winter, there is an energy that is associated that Mother Nature has been very kind to us to allow us to regenerate ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, it's even when I come visit you in middle of August, it's hot to go. So, they're still finding the times that early in the morning or in the evening, like, like apparently it's very hot there now. So you have to wait till much later to connect and get
Hmm.
out there. But there's always a time. It's like, what I think about is like, if you care about your health and you want to focus on that prevention, this is just a no brainer. It's just, this is what you do. This is what people do to improve their health. And it, like you said, it becomes part of their life. It's just that you don't even think about it. It's just like, yeah, I have grounding mats. I don't even think about it. It's just there. Or for me, I walk barefoot a lot in the grass and on rocks. And to add on, so for those of you that have back pain, something that I recommend is walking on rocks. You can make a rock mat. You're like, oh my God, Julie, are you kidding me? And yes, absolutely, because like you said at first, Dad, is like touching when gardening is a really fantastic way to connect to the earth. That's why a lot of people like, sure, it's about planting, you get pretty plants and all that stuff, but actually touching, with your bare hands, not with gloves, touching the earth with your hands and your feet. There's a lot of nerves in your hands and feet. And so there's a lot of nerve real estate. And so when we're able to, shift the nervous system and connect to something, um, that transfers to other parts of our body. So in particular, when we walk on uneven surfaces, what that does for your fascia on the bottom of your feet and what that does for even if you want to place your hands on it, what it does is that it actually activates different neurons in your hands, and there's a sensory it highlights a sensory input in your brain. So then the pain that you feel in your back is then lessened by your brain loves novelty. So by giving you the opportunity to touch different things and touch different surfaces, um, there's a lot of benefits there. And I've seen countless people with back pain, and I'm like, make a rock mat. And if make big rocks, little rocks, medium rocks, whatever, just by standing on it, people are like, oh my God, the first time you do it, it's so hard. Yes, like anything, your nervous system isn't used to it, and that's okay. But we just want to ease into it. That's why I love going to visit my parents, because they have rocks everywhere on their property, and I walk barefoot all the time. And, at first, when I first started doing it, yeah, not the easiest, but understand that when, just like anything, the more you do it, the better it is. And next thing you know, just the fascia starts loosening up because you're, activating different parts of your body using your sensory input. So something to add on is that it's not always doesn't have to be grass. Grass just feels nice. Like it feels good. So does sand. But sometimes, like in Mexico, when we went to Mexico, that sand is deep. Sometimes it's really hard to walk in sand. Like, to have somebody go walk a mile in sand is a lot harder than walking on grass. So there's something for that. But that I highly recommend that for the simple fact of working your fascia in your feet, because it'll loosen up different parts and it'll activate different parts of your body. So As I was saying before too, just something that in the trauma world that I'm noticing is that a lot of people in the trauma informed space talk about grounding. Grounding is similar to what we're talking about, but the difference between grounding in the trauma informed space and in earthing is when we move our bodies, when you ground, you want to move from your feet. So many people, if I have them actually just start swaying left to right or front to back or in circles, what you notice is that people will move from the shoulders or move from their mid back or move from their hips, but they actually don't move from their feet. So when you're grounding yourself from a trauma informed perspective, movement wise, what you want to do is be able to move from your feet. And because we spend so much time in shoes, not earthing, we tend to get disconnected in that way. So something that I would suggest you do is everybody grab a towel or a pillow or grab your grounding mat and wrap and ball it up, put it between your ankles. And all I want you to do is just shift right to left, front to back, and try some circles, but try to do the movement from your feet. And notice what happens. And just notice how connected you are and if you're able to move from your feet. And most people, if you haven't been practicing this, will be very difficult and you'll feel very fatigued, and that's okay. But this will help you connect to the earth a little bit more, and that energy will actually transfer from head to foot and not necessarily, most people, it'll blow out their back. So if you struggle with back pain or hip pain, usually mean you have a kink in your hose, and we just need to help you correct that by connecting you to the feet, connecting your feet to the ground, if that makes sense. Cool?
Wonderful.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add? I know I already said that, but after talking about that, going off my little rant.
I think we're good on this topic.
Awesome. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions about grounding or earthing, it's pretty basic. It's pretty easy. It's a very easy one for you to do. If you're, if preventative medicine is on your radar and you want to take care and longevity is on your radar, then earthing is definitely something that you want to be including in your everyday life. So we appreciate you being here and listening and supporting our podcast. And next time we're going to be talking about sleep and the importance of why sleep is so important and such an important factor for your health. So thanks again for being here. We appreciate your support. Make sure you hit the like button or write a comment in the space below if you can, and share with your friends as we continue to make more of these for you. So thanks again. Thanks for your time, Dad, and we'll see you next time.
Till next time.